2014's Godzilla was the second Godzilla movie fully produced by a Hollywood studio. The first was the 1998 Godzilla that reimagined the character as a small, iguana-like creature that pretty much just ran scared from the military. Toho, the Japanese studio that created Godzilla, definitely weren't fans of this, and named this character just Zilla, saying there was nothing godlike about him. And in Toho's Final Wars movie, they killed him. 16 years later, director Gareth Edwards rebooted the American Godzilla franchise with a much more godlike Godzilla, and this led to a MonsterVerse trilogy featuring Godzilla and King Kong. Here's the MonsterVerse Timeline Explained. Kong: Skull Island is the first movie in the MonsterVerse timeline. It opens in 1944 with two World War II fighter pilots in a dogfight. It's an American and a Japanese pilot, and they parachute down onto Skull Island where their fight is interrupted by a gigantic ape ant. Jump to 1973, and Bill Randa, head of Monarch, a secret organization that studied giant monsters, plans a trip to Skull Island, a relatively unknown area that he believes
the 1954 Castle Bravo nuclear tests weren't tests. They were trying to kill something.
He recruits an army unit led by Preston Packard, along with a tracker and a photographer. Arriving at Skull Island, the army starts dropping seismic explosives to test if monsters are coming from inside a hollow earth.
Randa hired me because I wrote a paper substantiating what most people think is a crackpot idea, that there are these massive underground spaces isolated from the surface world.
The unit is attacked by Kong, and they all run off in different directions, getting separated on the island. The survivors fall into two groups, one with researchers and the other with soldiers. Packard searches for a downed helicopter, piloted by Jack Chapman, that has weapons on board to kill the ape. The research group encounters local natives and Marlowe, an American pilot who has been stranded on the island for decades. He tells the group that the giant ape is named Kong, and he protects the island from predators, including subterranean reptilian creatures that he calls
skull crawlers. Why? Because it sounds neat.
The skull crawlers are responsible for killing Kong's species, making him the last of his kind. The locals believe that if Kong dies, a giant skull crawler will awaken and destroy the island. The research group meet up with Packard, who is determined to go west to rescue Chapman, and Marlowe is very much against this.
West? We can't go west. That's where the skull things live. We have an old saying here, east is best, west is worst.
But reluctantly, he agrees and leads the group through a mass grave of dinosaurs and Kong's family. There they get attacked by a skull crawler that reveals that Chapman is already dead. Packard goes a bit crazy, saying that he is going to kill Kong, the island's alpha. The group is split on that decision, so Packard goes after the weapons while the non-military team heads back to the boat. On their way there, they meet Kong up close and decide that they need to save him. Packard's group gets Kong in a trap, and a giant skull crawler emerges from the lake to attack Kong. Kong crushes Packard with his fist and defeats the giant skull crawler with his trademark jawbreaker move. Back home, Monarch reveal that Kong is not the only king, and we see cave paintings depicting Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. This was an exciting reveal because these characters had never been licensed for an American movie before. Let's jump into 2014's Godzilla, the first movie released in this MonsterVerse series. In the opening credits, we see that Bill Randa's theory was right. In 1954, Monarch attempted to kill a giant prehistoric monster with a nuclear bomb. In 1999, a uranium mine collapsed, and inside, Monarch scientists discover a Godzilla-sized skeleton along with two giant spores, and one of them has hatched. In Japan, a power plant is experiencing some strange seismic activity, and Joe Brody sends his wife to check it out. A tremor breaches the reactor, and Joe is forced to close the reactor door on his wife before she can escape. 15 years later, Joe's son Ford, now a US Navy officer, has to go to Japan to pick up his dad, who is detained for trespassing in a quarantine zone. Joe has gone kind of crazy, leaning hard into that newspapers on the walls trope, trying to find the cause of the meltdown that killed his wife. He convinces Ford to go with him to get data from their old home. But before they can leave, they are caught and taken to a secret facility. While Joe is being interrogated, a winged bug-like kaiju hatches and escapes, killing Joe in the process. The US Navy search for this winged creature they call
Muto.
Massive unidentified terrestrial organism.
Two members of Monarch, Serizawa and Graham, revealed to the captain that nuclear tests in the 1950s were actually attempts to kill Godzilla, and they believe the Muto is using echolocation to communicate with Godzilla. The Muto attacks a Russian submarine and eats its nuclear material. Godzilla arrives, scaring it away. This makes Serizawa think that maybe Godzilla was only listening as the Muto was communicating with something else, and this prompts the military to investigate a spore in Nevada. A wingless Muto emerges and attacks Las Vegas, and the scientists guess it must be a female and the signals were a mating call. The Navy plans to use nuclear warheads to draw all three monsters out into the ocean and destroy them. Ford joins the military team, delivering warheads to San Francisco, where the monsters are meeting up. But the plan is foiled when the male Muto snatches it up to take to the female's nest. While Godzilla and the Mutos battle, a strike team enters the city to find and disarm the warhead before it detonates. Unable to access the timer, the team gets the warhead on a boat for detonation at sea. Godzilla defeats the Mutos and collapses on the shore from exhaustion. Ford gets the boat out into the ocean and is rescued before the warhead explodes. Godzilla reawakens and returns to the sea, while the media dubs him King of the Monsters and speculate whether he might be a savior. The next film in the MonsterVerse series is 2019's Godzilla, King of the Monsters. After the events of the previous Godzilla movie, the world now knows about Mutos, but they now call them Titans. Side note, Titan is also used in Pacific Rim Uprising with the Titan Redeemer. Dr. Emma Russell, who is working for Monarch, and her daughter Madison witness Mothra hatching from its cocoon. Emma calms Mothra using an orca, a device that can emit frequencies to talk to Titans. A group of eco-terrorists, led by Alan Jonah, attack the base, kidnapping Emma and Madison, while Mothra flees. Monarch scientists approach Dr. Mark Russell, Emma's ex-husband, to help track down Emma and Madison. The Monarch team follows Godzilla to Antarctica, where Jonah intends to free a three-headed titan, codenamed Monster Zero. Emma wakes up Monster Zero, who battles Godzilla and escapes. The team figures out that Emma is working with the terrorists, and Emma contacts Monarch and argues that
the Titans, they are part of the Earth's natural defense system, a way to protect the planet, to maintain its balance.
Emma awakens Rodan in Mexico, who battles Monster Zero. After Rodan is defeated, Godzilla ambushes Monster Zero and rips off one of its heads. During this fight, the US Navy launches a prototype weapon called the Oxygen Destroyer, which they think kills Godzilla. Monster Zero regrows its head and wakes all of the other Titans around the world. As a result, Madison disowns Emma.
You're a monster.
Through mythological texts, Monarch discover that Monster Zero is King Ghidorah, a prehistoric alien seeking to terraform the Earth. Godzilla is slowly healing in an underwater city, and Monarch detonate a nuclear warhead to speed up the process. Emma now believes that the destruction the Titans will bring is worse than anything humans could do, but Jonah ignores her. Madison steals the orca and broadcasts a frequency in an attempt to calm the Titans, but accidentally, it attracts all of them to her. Ghidorah comes to destroy the orca, and Godzilla pops in to battle him. He nearly kills Godzilla, but Mothra sacrifices herself, transferring her energy to Godzilla. Emma sacrifices herself to lead Ghidorah away from Godzilla, and Godzilla reveals a new empowered state that defeats Ghidorah. And with this epic show of power, the Titans bow to the King of Monsters, Godzilla. During the credits, news clippings reveal that Titans are going to Skull Island, and Jonah's team purchases Ghidorah's head. And finally we get to Godzilla vs. Kong, set about 5 years after Godzilla, King of Monsters. It opens on Skull Island, where Monarch are monitoring Kong, who's being kept inside a giant dome. Kong is visited by Jaya, the last Skull Island native. She is deaf and communicates with Kong through sign language. Bernie Hayes, an employee of Apex Cybernetics and host of a Titan Conspiracy Theory podcast, claims there are shady activities going on at Apex. Then suddenly Godzilla attacks, and Bernie notices a device that looks like the orca, which is used to control Titans. Madison Russell is a fan of this podcast, and gets her friend Jonah to join her in investigating the cause of this attack. They find Bernie and sneak into the now destroyed Apex base, discovering a facility hidden deep underground. They get trapped in a container carrying skullcrawler eggs, and it takes them through a Tron-like tunnel to Hong Kong. There they see a test of Mechagodzilla that is telepathically controlled by Ren Serizawa, son of the late Ishiro Serizawa. He is using the neural networks of Ghidorah that they got from his severed head. Side note, this sounds strangely like the 2 minds to control a robot concept from Pacific Rim. Walter, an evil Apex exec, plans to use an energy source in the Hollow Earth to power Mechagodzilla. He recruits Nathan Lind, a former Monarch scientist, to help find this power source. And Nathan recruits Eileen, convincing her to let Kong guide them through the Hollow Earth. Nathan, Eileen, and the Apex team, led by Walter's daughter Maya, put Kong on a ship. But wasn't a good idea because Godzilla attacks them and he knocks out Kong, only leaving after the ship disables their power, tricking him into thinking that they're all destroyed. Realizing that Godzilla will continue to come for Kong, they switch to airlifting Kong to a Hollow Earth entry point in Antarctica. Inside Hollow Earth, they find Kong's ancestral throne room and a glowing axe made from the dorsal spine of an old Godzilla. They find the power source and send the signature back to the base, but Godzilla senses this and makes the ground collapse in Hong Kong to attack them in the throne room. Maya and the Apex team get killed. Kong and the survivors escape to Hong Kong, where the fight continues. In the end, Godzilla KOs Kong. At the Apex base, Ren warns Walter that they have not tested the Hollow Earth energy source, but Walter ignores his warning and activates Mechagodzilla. Bernie and crew are caught by security and brought to Walter. Mechagodzilla goes haywire with the new energy source and Ren is electrocuted. Mechagodzilla, now fully possessed by Ghidorah, kills Walter and attacks the city, getting Godzilla's attention. Godzilla, worn out from his battle with Kong, has a tough time against the mech. Jaya convinces Kong to help Godzilla. Kong and Godzilla aren't doing so great against Mechagodzilla until Josh short-circuits Mechagodzilla's controls with a flask of liquor.
That's your solution?
Godzilla powers up Kong's axe with his atomic breath, charging it up for Kong to just go ape on Mechagodzilla, tearing him apart. Godzilla and Kong go their separate ways, and sometime later we see Kong now ruling over the Hollow Earth. Now what's next for the MonsterVerse? Back in 2017, Del Toro said that there have been discussions about a possible crossover with Pacific Rim. In Pacific Rim, their monsters come from a portal in the bottom of the ocean that they call the Breach. This could maybe be a portal that connects these franchises. But if you're looking for more Godzilla action to watch right now, the success of this American MonsterVerse prompted Toho to do a reboot of their own. They brought on the legendary Hideaki Anno, creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion, to create this wildly unique Shin Godzilla, the first and only Godzilla movie to win the Japan Academy Prize for Best Picture. What do you want to see next in the MonsterVerse? Let me know in the comments below, and like and subscribe to GameSpot Universe for even more kaiju coverage.